This is a Spurry Instruments circuit test for your power. It'll tell you if you have an open ground, an open neutral, an open hot, hot ground reversed, hot neutral reversed, or correct polarity on your plugs. I got a call that they had burned out a computer and the electrician had been there working and he had connected up the circuit to that room backwards and they turned the computer on and fried it. I had another in my own home where I bought myself a new UPS and surge protector and I plugged them in and immediately I got a faulty ground. And I started running through the house and in some rooms I'd get a nice good ground indicator. In others it would say the ground, I had no ground. Well, it turned out during a lightning strike it had burned the ground rod. And I was getting intermittent ground and the further away I would get from the ground, the worse the ground signal would get. So I called the electrician and we ended up putting in a new breaker box with surge protection on the breaker box. And apparently I had a 4-foot copper rod, so we drove in a 20-foot copper rod.
You do electrician work too?
I have in the past. If I find a burnt out surge circuit breaker, I don't know if you've ever been in the homes. I still have it in my old home, my parents' home, where you go to the circuit box and there's these little screw-in fuses. Well, today's circuit breaker is a true circuit breaker, and if it fries, it just kind of flops. You just go over to Home Depot and you buy the circuit breaker. It's a plug in, plug out. I don't hesitate to do that. I don't hesitate to rewire electrical boxes. Your best tool. Seriously, your best tool. I've run into this a couple of times with both AT&T, Comcast, and now DirecTV. And the minute I hit the wall, at the wall, it's not my problem, call your internet provider. Okay? I mean, it's just that simple. I had a call Sunday morning that their internet was out right after those severe thunderstorms. And I said, have you called your internet provider yet? Oh no, we call you first. You sold us a computer and you serviced the computer. And I said, no, call your internet provider first if you don't have an internet signal. But let me ask you this, look at your modem. Is your internet light syncing? On a DSL modem, you've got a light that blinks if there's no sync. And she said, I've got one light steady and I've got two lights blinking. I said, call AT&T. She called AT&T, and yesterday she came in and said AT&T sent out a tech and they gave her a new box. Lightning took out her DSL modem. I had a situation where a customer called me and they had been to a competitor and replaced the power supply, but two of her items weren't working. I told her to bring it to me because I didn't want to make her make a 50-mile drive because she had taken it from her daughter's up here. Her problem was this. It's a Molex to SATA power converter. They did not have the extra SATA for her media box, which had a SATA power connection at the back of the media box. I've also run into a couple occasions where the power supply powers the SATA to the DVD burner, and these do go bad. And somebody, and I assume it was the son, was a little ham-handed and broke the wires in here. And when I connected mine up, it worked, so we sell her one of those. I have a bootable Ubuntu Linux flash drive, 32 gigabit. And that has been a lifesaver. I also have a couple of bootable Linux DVDs with older versions. Always a good idea to have that. I've run into situations, and I mentioned this last time, where the vacuum ate up a Ethernet cable up under a desk. I carry an Ethernet cable with me for cabling checking. I carry, don't laugh, they told me the printer didn't work. Printer didn't work because the printer cable was bad. When the carpet laying crew came in and they picked everything up, but when they shoved the file cabinet back against the wall at the corner of the desk where the printer sat, they actually used the filing cabinet to cut this in half. And when I pulled it loose from the printer and I started pulling on the cable, I'm looking at, hey, where's the rest of the cable? And I crawl under the desk and I grab out of the back of the computer and pull it, and well, there's my answer. So I always keep a printer cable, an Ethernet cable, a power cable. When doing those, it doesn't hurt to have a Bandaid. I have this. This is one of those reverse screwdriver sets. I've got a chip puller, reverse tweezers. Instead of squeeze, they're pull apart for holding the part. Yeah. Okay. Doesn't hurt to have one of these. You'll almost never, to show you how long ago this is, you'll almost never use one of these anymore. What? Chip puller. You'll almost never use, but I have one just in case I run into one of those old machines. I have a big assortment of rubber bands and screws. Every kind of screw you can find inside a computer or a laptop, I now have a couple of. In here, occasionally, small wire ties instead of the big wire ties.
Do you carry spaces?
What?
Do you carry motherboard spaces?
I have those in my other toolkit. Yes, I do. But how often do you run into that?
I don't know.
I've run into it once in the last 15 years. I don't know how the screw in the bottom of the computer got loose. Okay, and I found the spacer floating around inside. I couldn't find a screw, so I just grabbed one of my screws and put the spacer back in the corner and screwed it back in when I was doing a power clean. These are gender benders. This is a communication port to PS2. I also now carry, because I ran into this on an old Dell computer, I now carry a PS2 mouse and a PS2 keyboard because my USBs would not work. And there was no driver from Dell for that old early XP machine. So you get some of these real early machines. Not a bad idea. If you find one, just grab it. I see them all the time at garage sales.
So you suggest, because I have a couple of the older parts from older computers, you suggest I hang on to those parts?
I do. Like I said, I have 5 old computers that are my parts computers. They, 2 of them actually still work, and I'll rob a part off it, and then when I find another one that, hey, I get that part back to make mine work. But yes, it's always a good idea. I had a customer about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, bring in a original Sony Vaio laptop. Windows 95. It literally was one of the first 100 by serial number Sony made of their original Vaio laptop. Had a 3.5 floppy drive in it. No CD burner, no DVD burner. 3.5 floppy. It's about this thick and weighed 14 pounds. I was thankful I had my Windows 95 disks because that's what she needed. She just needed the master boot record restored.
So what do these people do with those machines, really?
That's what I want to know.
Are they actually still in service? Are those machines still in service?
She's a real estate sales agent, and she just carries it with her and has been carrying it with her since the company bought it for her. She says, why replace what isn't broken and it works? Now, I'll be honest with you. I think part of the reason she's carrying it is she can plug into any phone line and dial up into the server.
Right, yeah. They depend on those little things.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a built-in dial-up modem on it. She carries the phone, plugs in at the house, and hooks into the server for multiple listing service. Wireless mouse. I've got 2 of them. Carry one of these with you. What? Every computer I work on has a note sheet. This one says, Carolyn's computer setup. Repair and recovery disk, 1 hour. Remove trialware, remove spyware. Install WordPerfect Office X5. In Office, install and configure. Install paper port. Install network. Verify network hookup to the virtual drive, which is the Verdict billing package because it's multi-user, and the 3 girls all need to be able to get to the software and access customer accounts. Make sure that they could connect to the shared network hard drive for backup. Configure independently on all 3 of the machines a separate backup device. So we're doing double backups, one to a network, one connected directly to the computer. I get a set of Ziploc sandwich bags, and when I take the cover off on this side, because it's nice and solid, I will tape it to the side of the cover, and inside is a set of notes on a standard sheet of notebook paper of everything I've done to that computer. Now, I did get lazy a while back, and somebody said, why do you use Ziploc bags? And I said, they're cheap. And they showed me what they were using. They had gone to an office supply and bought the kind of bags that you peel the whole thing off and it sticks like for packing information. Like when you do a UPS, there's that bag that they have. So instead of taping it, it actually looks nicer to go buy those bags, and it's no more expensive. But every computer I've worked on that I can do on the inside has a note sheet of everything I have done to it. And that way, they call me and say, hey, this is going on. I've got my notes, and there's a duplicate in the computer. One of the things I'm starting to run into is broken power jacks on laptops. Unless it's a Toshiba, you're going to need one of these. You're aware that probably 90% of the laptops out there, the power jack inside the case is soldered to the motherboard. Okay? So you're going to have to unsolder it and solder it. So you'll need some silver solder and some liquid flux. The Toshiba actually uses a screw jack that screws into the case and onto the motherboard and uses a little wire connector on 3 prongs or 4 prongs, depending on the model, to connect the power to the motherboard. So wish when you do a power jack that that's what it is. I honestly hate to say that this happened, but it did. We lost one of our customers' dogs 3 weeks ago. Dog decided to chew the laptop power cord where it came out of the wall. And the customer came to me and said, can this be repaired? And I'm looking at a totally chewed up laptop power supply. And she said, yeah, the dog died, stupid thing. He wouldn't stop chewing power cords. So apparently it wasn't the first time. I have seen at least 4 cases this summer of dog chewing on power cords. So inform your customers. Don't leave the power cord plugged in and the dog in the house and leave for 4 hours. Puppies will chew on anything. And that power cord hanging there flapping from the desk to the is just an attractant. And I hate to say we lost the dog, but in this case we did. It was a nice puppy too. I happened to have a nice meeting with the Lenovo rep, and he was handing these out, and I thought I had an open one in my bag. This is an unopened one. These are like 3M sticky notes in 4 sizes. So I've found that on occasion when taking parts out, I'm using these to label them. Okay? I had a case where I started taking the screws out of a laptop to put in an LCD screen and a new power supply, and all the screws were different. There was no 2 uniform screws on the inside. So what I started doing was, on the sticky note, I wrote down motherboard, keyboard, bezel, and I took double-sided tape and stuck it to the top of the sticky that I had on the bench, and those screws were going on the double-sided sticky tape. So I knew where those screws came from, because I literally, except for the 6 screws around the outside of the case on the outside, there were no 2 alike throughout that doggone laptop. And that was a Gateway N-series laptop. So if you happen to run across one of these at a trade show as a freebie, grab them. They're wonderful.